Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. In this technical analysis of the stock market video, I call it Everyone's in the Pool. And we're going to start off here with the ETF dashboard for September 18th. It's what I shared with my members yesterday. I share this dashboard every weekend. This week, 5 of the 16 sectors were up, 11 were down. Actually, I'm giving it a little benefit of the doubt because one was actually flat, dead even. Last week, everything was negative. Energy was the strongest, materials was the weakest, and you can see everything is positive for the year, at least as of mid-September. The index ETFs, the Russell 2000 ETF eked out a small gain for the week. The S&P 500 was the weakest performer, and everything has been positive for the year so far. Emerging markets, everything got negative, and mainly because the dollar was strong. Russia was still the best performer, mainly because of oil. And then we've got China leading to the downside, down 4%, FXI. I say China, Hong Kong because a good portion of what's in FXI are large caps on the Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong. Commodities, we had oil leading to the upside, silver very, very weak, 5.7%. And I'm very close to just giving up the ghost on the bullish scenario here on silver. Gold is still trying to hold, but man, silver is not doing so great. Natural gas, look at this for the year on natural gas. Now, I've got UNG in here as the proxy for natural gas, but you know, the way they purchase their futures contracts makes this very, the way they have to get rid of the front month, get the next front month, etc. It works short term. It does not work long term. When you compare a chart of UNG to a chart of, say, the natural gas futures contracts, continuous contracts, it does not resemble the natural gas on a longer term or year after year at all. So I would not call this an investment vehicle. I actually put out a little video about this for my members. But short term, yeah, it tracks the gyrations going on in natural gas. And you can see, people have been talking about this a lot. Here's the strength in the dollar this last week. And then here's the British pound leading to the downside, slight leader over the euro. Bitcoin was up 2.5%. And then here's the bonds, TLT, leading to the upside with, of course, the emerging market debts. In sympathy with what happened with the emerging markets. All right, that's the ETF dashboard for this week. Okay, let's take a look at the major indices here. The Dow, the S&P 500, and the Nasdaq Composite. Actually, I want to show this. Let me correct that. I want to show that on a daily. So here's what happened. The Dow was down 22.8 points this week. Not huge. Following the big move to the downside, but it's been down 3 weeks in a row. Here's the S&P 500 down 25.59. The Nasdaq Composite, acting the strongest, but down 71.5 points for the week. So I say acting the strongest because look how it's just holding above that 10-week moving average in here. But the S&P all of a sudden is getting a little bit weaker, although doesn't have the breakdown like we're seeing over here on the Dow Industrials. You can see the divergence that's definitely showing up in here on the Dow Industrials. So that is the picture there. We're going to dive in. I want to look at the Dow versus the Dow Transports. And they're definitely out of sync in big time. The Dow Transports peaked back over here on May 10th. Okay, actually, their closing high was on May 7th, and then I say May 10th, it's May 10th. It's the intraday high on May 10th. And look what they've done since, not confirming the push that the Dow did, and the Dow had a closing high on August 16th. So, here we are 1 month later, and we're trending down. It'll be interesting. I'll be watching to see when these guys get back in sync and punch to new lows together. But right now, I'd say this is a big, big flag that says that the markets are way out of sync here. And I talked about everyone's in the pool. This is what made me think of that. this article that it came out about a week ago or so, September 10th. The $1 trillion that has flowed into the global stocks in 2021, and of course this is just so far, is bigger than the last 20 years combined. That's pretty amazing. It reminds me of that, what's that famous quote by, oh gosh, trying to think of his name. Okay, it came back to me. Scott McNeely of Sun Microsystems. After the dot-com bubble, he had made that quote that said, "What were you thinking?" And I think they'll be asking that same thing years from now. What were you thinking? And we've talked about some of the extremes that are going on. But let's get back. I want to get back and focus on the Dow right here. Let's take a look here at the Dow Industrials. Now, here is a short-term scenario that says, hey, we're just looking for a fourth wave before we get the fifth and final wave. This is one scenario, okay? This is the most bullish scenario. But there is also this scenario. So I'm tracking two scenarios. This scenario says the fifth wave is in. And why do I have the fifth wave over here just 3 weeks ago and not at the high in August 16th? Mainly because when I drilled down and took a look at what was going on in the daily, I felt like this was an ending diagonal that ended up with a truncated fifth wave in here. This fifth wave right here truncated and then rolled over and started to break down. So I am definitely watching this. We're definitely watching this closely. So the key is what happens in here in terms of the wave structure, in terms of how this unfolds. But I'm just letting you know that, with the members, we are watching both scenarios. We'll see what happens. Okay, now, in terms of the scenarios, the first half of this month has not been all that great. And I mean, in terms of reinforcing a extreme bearish scenario, and I'm going to show you why I say that. And I'm saying that because I'm watching the breadth of the market over here. Here's where I record the New York Stock Exchange advancing stocks and declining stocks. And then what I'm doing in this column, it's not this heading. What I do with this is I take the advancing stocks and divide it by the sum of the advancing and declining. And then what I'm looking at, and I color code in here, I color code it green if it's 2/3 greater than 2/3. So 67% or higher is green, and if it's 33% or lower, it's red. So when it's red, what it's telling me that there's a significantly higher portion, greater than 2/3 of the stocks are to the downside. So it's giving me, that indication. And then that goes into the math for calculating the McClellan oscillator over here, which we'll get to in a minute. But as you can see, we haven't had a strong cluster of red here in the first half of September at all. So although the market's been kind of weak, and when we look at the Dow back here and the last 3 weeks, we're just not seeing it in the breadth, at least not yet. Now all of a sudden that could change. So what kind of picture, if we go back to, let's just go back to the top of 2020, and when we really had that strong breakdown, you'll see the kind of red clusters like February 21, look at that and look at the low percentages. We start to see this kind of activity and this kind of breadth and weakness and everything, then all of a sudden, we're going to know that, okay, we got something really strong underway. Now, when I look at the McClellan oscillator, we're sitting here at minus 70.69 right now. So we're just slightly oversold. But what I'm watching, and here's, down below minus 150 is extremely oversold, plus 150 is extremely overbought. Here's the zero line, okay? So right now, I am watching this trend line. If we break this trend line and start coming down, we could get into this kind of very negative price action, which was back to March of 2020 again. So we'll see what happens, but this is definitely on the radar screen. Okay, the last thing I want to look at today is to take a quick look at the VIX, because that's been acting kind of interesting lately too. So here's a picture, and I want to just go to the daily. That's the weekly view. You could see it was down slightly for the week. But what I noticed during the week here is this almost looks a little bit like a little bull flag. Okay, what I mean by that is it's like a little flagpole going up, and then we had this flag tightness, little consolidation, and then Friday we got a breakout. So it's going to be interesting to see, do we get to follow through? We're back up above 20. We're sitting at 20.81. Do we break this longer term trend line? I feel like if we do, and especially break it on a close, I think we could get a major eruption in selling and volatility in the market. So we'll see what happens this coming week. All right, that's it for this video. If you felt like the video was helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber yet, hit that little subscriber button. And if you'd like more of this kind of information on a regular basis, we talk about this every day over at joehenches.net. Check out the website, check out the membership. Everyone have a great week. We'll talk to you on the next video.